I had an experience happen to me recently, and it kind of was something that I've had thoughts about for a long time now, but I've never actually really sat down and processed and really thought deep about what it was. And the thing that it was I was I had some friends that wanted to go do something, and I just didn't really feel like going. I don't really enjoy doing things a lot, and I kind of thought I was the problem. I thought I had an issue or something, and that's the reason that I didn't want to go out and do things. And so I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it, but I kind of blamed myself, you know. I felt like, oh, I should be going, and when I was younger and even up until recently, I would always I would still go. I would say no, and then I would psych myself out so much that I would end up saying yes, but not out of genuine desire to do something, but out of guilt. And um and then it happened to me, yeah, like I was saying, happened to me just a little bit ago, and I was thinking, and it got me realizing that maybe it's not a problem to say no. And I was kind of taken aback at, that thought. It came into my head, and I was like, wait, what? No way. Like, yeah, obviously it's a problem, like I need to figure this out because, everybody that I know always hangs out 24/7. And it got me realizing, like, what it got me realizing what it means to actually be an introvert. And I think it's something that's so over talked about, but so so little people understand it. And you know, it made me realize, like, being an introvert doesn't always mean, you're bad at talking, or you don't like public spaces all the time or things like that. And I think that's something that it's it tends to follow, but it doesn't that's not what makes someone an introvert. Somebody can be an extrovert and still be really bad at public speaking. Um and somebody be an introvert and be really good at public speaking. And so the thing is that I want to talk about was, you know, you're not the problem because you're an introvert. And I just processed that the last probably week or so. It really kind of made sense in my brain. And the guilt that I held for myself for the longest time just kind of faded. I realized maybe, yeah, maybe I am not the problem. I might not be the problem, maybe there's not a problem. And it's such like a freeing feeling to have. But back to what I was saying is that if you are an introvert, that just means that your recharge is normally something that you prefer alone or with a very small group of people. And I was kind of I always didn't quite know what that meant. And then I realized, my mom, she showed me a video actually that was about being an introvert, and it was kind of just like, oh, the introvert says his like thoughts out loud, and it was like kind of like a comedy skit, and it made me right. She showed me it, and she was laughing, and she was like, haha, this is so you. And I just was like, oh, haha, like, haha, mom showing me a video. And I listened to what the guy was saying, and it hit the nail on the head. I was like, what? I've never thought about that. But he was saying, like, when people would come up to me and they would try to hang out, and sure, half the time it's like, yeah, sure, let's go to the mall, let's go play basketball, let's go do something. And then, I have a lot of people who like to do things multiple times in a row. So they hang out on a Tuesday, and then they also hang out on a Wednesday, and then a Thursday, and I always was kind of I always hated that. I've kind of always had a desire, if kind of like if you hung out with me on a Friday, probably weren't gonna see me on a Saturday as well, unless I was in a really good mood. But I struggled with it. If I hung out and I did things all day on a Friday, I just kind of wanted to be with just me and maybe like my family or maybe a girlfriend or something, and that was it on a Saturday. And it was so this is something that affected me. It affected my whole it's affected me my whole life, but it really kind of caused me a lot of issues with a girl that I was dating because she was a super big extrovert. She always loved to be doing things. I have never, in my 18 years of life, met a single human being who enjoyed to do more things than that girl. She was always wanting to go out and always wanting to do something, and I was the exact opposite. And me and her dated for close to 2 years, and it was weird. And I had a lot of anxiety during that relationship, and I never quite understood what it was about. I always was kind of I thought maybe I just had anxiety, I was just born with it kind of thing. And then I processed it and I really thought about it and I really thought, wait a minute. It's because I was always just going along with her because I was kind of scared to lose her. And so I was always going and doing things with her, even though it made me super uncomfortable. And we broke up. She broke up with me, and one of her reasons was that she thought I was kind of boring, and I didn't love to go out and do things all the time. Because I did things with her, but I did kind of make it clear that they weren't always my favorite, which, probably shouldn't have done. I feel like if I was gonna do it, I should have just done it with a smile on my face. But it was hard to do that because I didn't want to do it. But for a while, and then she said that, and I was like, oh, I am. It's a problem. I need to get it fixed. And then just with this video my mom showed me, it made me be like, wait a minute. It wasn't a problem. It was just something that me and her had a differing thing on, and now it's perfectly fine. I don't love to go out all the time, and she does, and that's not my fault or her fault. That's just her, and that's just me. And so I think that it's like, I hope that she can find somebody that wants to go out all the time and do stuff with her, and I I hope that I can find somebody who doesn't. And so I just think that that's something that I think is such a freeing feeling and has freed me from so much, kind of, honestly, a lot of anxiety, because I feel like I don't have to feel bad about saying no to hanging out or saying no to going to things. And I always dealt with that my whole life. And so I think if you're somebody who finds yourself kind of like turning down activities, and then you say in your brain like, oh, maybe I should have, I feel bad, but the thing is, you have to think about is, if you don't go to something, do you feel bad because you didn't go and you're sad you didn't go, or do you feel bad because you thought that those people really wanted you to go? And that's the thing you have to look for, because if you look back on it and you genuinely feel bad because you feel like you missed out, then maybe there's another problem, and it's not a problem of maybe you're not an introvert and you just have some inner battles, maybe some anxiety. But for me, it was the fact that every time I was there, I never really felt bad for me. I always just felt bad for the other people because I felt like I was letting them down, even though I knew really deep in my heart I did not have a desire to go. And so I would say, if you're somebody and you're feeling the same way as I was, that maybe take that in consideration next time, and then you won't linger on that thought for a while of feeling bad, because it's something that like that's just who you are, and that's perfectly okay to be like that. But that was the weekly thought, monthly thought.